We're living through this really strange paradox, right? We are more connected than ever before in history, but somehow we've never felt more alone. Today, we're going to get into exactly why that is. It turns out your brain has a friend limit, and understanding it might just change how you see your life online.
I mean, just think about your own social media for a second. You might have 500, maybe 1,000 plus friends or followers, but does it feel like you have 1,000 friends? The numbers just don't add up to a real sense of connection, and I think we all feel that something is off with this whole equation.
And honestly, this image just captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? We're not suffering from a lack of connection. We're literally drowning in it. We're just swimming in this endless sea of notifications, likes, and follows, but we feel totally isolated at the same time.
Which brings us right to our first big idea, this concept of having 1,000 friends but zero company. Let's unpack what's at the heart of our super connected but lonely age. Okay, so here it is, the core contradiction. If you look at the raw numbers, we're basically social superstars. I mean, our online networks are massive compared to what our parents or grandparents had. But even with this huge social web, feelings of loneliness are just skyrocketing. So what is going on?
Well, the answer, and this might surprise you, isn't really in our phones. It's actually in our biology. It turns out our brain has its own built-in limit, like a hard cap on how many people we can truly call friends.
And this idea has a name. It's called Dunbar's number. It's a theory from anthropology, and it's fascinating. It basically says our brains just, well, they don't have the processing power to maintain an infinite number of real meaningful relationships. There's a ceiling.
And that magic number, it's about 150. Yeah. Back in the 90s, an anthropologist named Robin Dunbar did these studies and found that the absolute maximum number of stable relationships we can handle is around 148, which we just round up to 150. Anyone beyond that number, they're really just acquaintances.
So you gotta ask, right? If our biology, our very brain structure, says 150 is the limit, then why are our social media platforms pushing us to add 500, 1,000, even 5,000 friends? Why is the technology that's supposed to connect us pushing us so far past our natural cognitive breaking point?
Well, the answer to that question really gets into the psychology of how these platforms are built. And that brings us to our next section, the addiction to likes.
The source material uses this incredible phrase calling us addicts of appreciation. We're not just sharing our lives anymore, we're basically performing on a stage for applause. And that applause comes in the form of likes and comments. And think about it, maintaining real relationships takes time, right? It takes mental energy. Every minute you spend chasing validation from 1,000 strangers online is a minute you're not spending with your actual 150 people.
So, why is this so addictive? Well, Psychology Today actually broke it down into a few key reasons. First, social media gives us total control over our own image, right? We get to curate how people see us. Second, it taps into that really deep primal human need to belong. And third, it lets us be a version of ourselves that we might be too shy to be in the real world. A little bolder, a little wittier.
But let's get even more granular. Let's talk about the like. It feels so small, so insignificant, just a quick click. But what's the actual psychological power behind that one little button?
Well, according to studies, the pain of being ignored online, of not getting those likes, is very real, and it hurts. The source puts it so bluntly, saying the absence of that validation can be enough to shatter a person. That's how much power we've given to that tiny digital thumbs up. So, this intense need for likes and validation leads us down a pretty interesting path, the careful and, let's be honest, often exhausting process of crafting a virtual self. See, we're not just sharing our lives anymore, we're actually building a whole second one. It's this idealized, parallel version of ourselves. We pour all our hopes, our best photo angles, our funniest thoughts into this online avatar, a person who never has a bad hair day and whose kitchen is always clean. And you can see the split so clearly here. The real us? We're complex, we have flaws, we're stuck in reality. But our virtual self? That's curated perfection. It's simple, it's idealized, and it's only limited by how good we are at photo editing. But maintaining that perfect image takes a ton of energy. And the bigger that gap gets between the real you and the online you, the more your real relationships suffer and the emptier all that online validation starts to feel. Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly, but what's the way out? That brings us to our last, and I think most important section, finding your real community. And here's the solution, plain and simple.
The way out of this digital loneliness trap isn't to get better at the online game or to get more followers. The solution is to stop playing. It's to identify and actually invest in your real-life Dunbar's number, your true 150. And the source gives us some really concrete, simple steps to do it. First, you have to actually think about it. Who are your people? Who really matters? Then it's all about physical presence. You have to meet them in person. It's about engaging all the senses that the internet flattens out. Hear their actual voice, see the expressions on their face in real time, and share a real, genuine laugh together, not just typing LOL.
And this is really the whole point. True connection happens when people take up space in your mind and in your actual life, not when they're just another post you scroll past in your newsfeed. It takes real, conscious effort. And we're going to end with this really powerful promise from the source material. It's a hopeful call to action. The cure for feeling lonely in our digital world isn't found online. It's found when we rediscover those real, tangible, human connections that are waiting for us right here in the real world.